What's going on YouTube? So as you probably know, pickup trucks dominate the American market. However, Honda has always had a unique approach to their pickup truck. While it's never going to challenge the Americans in terms of sales, it has gained a small but fiercely loyal following. And now for 2020, Honda has made some changes. So with that said, let's go ahead and see what's new for 2020. Now before we get started here with the exterior, I just want to go ahead and get out of the way one of the major 2020 changes, and that is the elimination of two different trim levels. So the base RL trim level, that's now gone, and the middle rtl-e trim level is now gone. Now with that said, what is left here is basically unchanged as far as the design is concerned. So you still have this kind of typical Honda grille. It's not the updated version like we see in the Honda Pilot, so it's kind of the older style. And if you go for the black edition, then all of this gets blacked out and has a bronze finish. And then coming over here to your headlights, as you can see, we have an LED daytime running light that goes around. On the top two trim levels, you will find LED low beam headlights. However, the high beam is still halogen. And then down below, you have your separated turn signal and standard fog lights. Now coming down here to your wheels, Honda has nicely included 18-inch alloys standard across every single trim level, and every single trim level does have a different design. And then as far as the mirrors are concerned, heating is standard, and then you'll have blind spot monitoring located inside this pillar on the top two trim levels. Alrighty, so before I get to the back design of this Ridgeline, I do want to discuss a few things here at the side. For one, the Ridgeline is only available in the full 4-door crew cab configuration, so that's something to consider as compared to a Toyota Tacoma. Now the next thing I want to discuss is that this truck is unibody, which means that the bed in the truck is actually one piece as opposed to having that crack in between, but Honda has nicely put a little fake crack here to kind of give it more traditional styling. And then walking around to the rear design itself, it is going to have a little bit more of a less trucky look than some of the rivals, but we do still have LED taillights, and down here on the bottom we have some black moldings, however no exhaust pipes. Alright, but for those of you that are familiar with the Ridgeline, you know that the cool stuff is here in the bed. This truck is really innovative when it comes to this. It does a lot more than pretty much anything else. So of course you can open the tailgate just in the traditional way. It is not dampened that way, but the really cool thing is that you can actually side release it. So all you have to do is look at this little lever here, and the tailgate opens on the side. Once again, I'm pretty sure no other truck on the market has this. It's a really unique feature and allows you to have a good amount of space here to load stuff in. Now, as far as the bed itself is concerned, we do have a nice liner on the ground, as well as LED lighting on all of the sides, but we're not done with the cool stuff yet, because we do actually have a trunk. So you can actually open up the floor here, and it reveals a really large amount of space. This is actually available as a trunk, like I said, if you need to keep stuff out of the rain, or you can actually fill this up with water, and there's actually a plug that you can drain it out of this bottom here, so that's a really cool feature to have, as well as a spare tire back here. And we're still not done yet, because we do have one more feature, and that's the integrated audio system that they have back here. So this Ridgeline actually has speakers hidden around this truck's bed that allows it to have a really loud audio system here in the back for tailgating. So I'll just go ahead and start playing some music for you. And shutting this tailgate reminds me of one of the 2020 changes, which is now that this remote locks with the vehicle. And talking about the safety system, which are up next, that is actually another area where it's a 2020 change because Honda sensing is now standard across the board. That means they will all now have forward emergency braking, lane keeping assist, and adaptive cruise control with auto high beam headlights. Well guys, that sums up the unique exterior of this Honda Ridgeline. So now let's go ahead and hop inside before we take it on a drive. So on the 2020 Ridgeline, you will now have a standard smart entry system as well as a remote start system, since that base trim level has been eliminated. And taking a look inside the cabin, it is pretty much exactly the same as it was last year, and is exactly what you have come to expect from the Ridgeline. Now, as far as your different interior material and color options, you will be looking at cloth seating on your lower trim levels until you get up to the rtl-e, and that's where you'll get leather. And then you also have your choice of black, gray, or beige across all the trim levels, except for that black edition, which obviously is exclusively black. Now turning over here to your door trim, it is nicely finished. You have leather along this armrest as well as above it, and this top part is soft touch with a piano black accent. As far as your windows, your driver and passenger window are one-touch automatic, and you will also find two-person memory seating. Checking out the seats here, this is the 10-way power adjusting seat with two-way lumbar support. And then, like I already said, since this is the rtl-e, we have real leather seating with a nice color contrast stitching detail. Now, you probably don't need me to tell you that this is related to the Honda Pilot, so as you would expect, materials do mostly follow suit with the Honda Pilot. That means across the upper dashboard here, we do have a soft touch plastic with a stitching detail. Down below that, we have some piano black trim, and then all of the lower areas, these are all going to be hard touch, but everything does fit together very well. As you can see, there are no panel gaps. Now, start with the Ridgeline, you have standard push button start. Now, certain elements of the Ridgeline no longer correspond with the Pilot, and that's because the Pilot has been refreshed. So this is basically the old style Pilot gauges, mostly analog as you can see, but you do have a 4.2-inch multifunction display as well as a speed readout right in the middle. And then coming back to the steering wheel itself, it is nicely leather wrapped. Of course, it is manual tilt and telescoping, and if you go for the rtl-e or the black edition, you will also have heating. Now, storage though, this is one of the areas that really helped the Ridgeline to stand out from the other mid-sized trucks. And that's because it has the same storage setup as, of course, the Pilot, which is very versatile. So you've got these folding armrests, so you can stick anything you want to right in this area. And then when you slide that back and out of the way, you'll notice an absolutely gigantic center console. So this is a lot more storage than typical in a mid-sized truck, a lot more like a full-size truck actually. And then up in the front here, we have another generous sized storage bin, some more connections, and a shelf right there. And now that brings us back here to one of our 2020 changes. Now, we haven't got to the powertrain section, but spoiler alert, there is now a 9-speed automatic transmission, and with that substitution in transmission is also a substitution in shifter. So gone is the physical shifter, we've now switched to an electronic push-button style. It does operate the same as another Honda, so you press D for drive, press down once again for sport mode, and then for reverse you're going to pull back on that trigger. When you go into reverse, you will find a standard backup camera, and as you can see, it does have active trajectory as well as 3 different angles. And then for park, just press the P. And this rtl-e does have parking sensors as well. And moving up from that, we come to our climate controls. Now, this is actually a 3-zone automatic setup. That's super rare for the class. And it is very simple to use. Just press down these buttons, and you can click the rear button there to adjust the rear climate. Additionally, if you go for the RTL and up, you will also have 3-stage heated seats. Alright, so now that brings us up here to our audio system. Now, the top end trim levels, the rtl-e and the Black Edition, come with the 540 watt 8-speaker premium audio system. So let's go ahead and take a sample of that. Now, of course, as you can probably see, we still have the swiping style volume knob since this is an older system. So that is something to keep in mind if that would bother you. Now, this is the infotainment system. It actually has been updated this year, just in the fact that you have an 8-inch display standard across all the models now, instead of that small 5-inch display on the base trim level. However, that being said, as you can see, this is the older style Honda Link system, so you still have the older style touch buttons that I just pointed out, as well as the graphics and performance. On your top trim levels, you do have navigation. This is the older style Garmin system, but if you don't want to use this, you have access to both Android Auto and Apple CarPlay. Now moving on up, we have an auto dimming mirror with 3 HomeLink universal remotes on the rtl-e. And then on just the RTL and up, that's where you'll have the standard moonroof. And it does have a wind buffer as well. Alrighty, so hopping in the Ridgeline's rear seat, they're all going to look exactly like this since it does only come in the crew cab configuration. And as far as the features that Honda has thrown in, since this is based on a Pilot, of course, in the center we do have rear vents, which is quite nice. We have a little storage area, as well as 2 smart charging USB ports. Now, in addition to that, we do also have a fold-down armrest. It's really quite wide with 2 cup holders inside. And as far as the rear legroom itself is concerned, you're going to find 36 inches of rear legroom and 38 inches of rear headroom, which does place it, pretty much in line with most of its rivals. And behind rear seating position, I have about, I would say, 4 inches of rear legroom, and my feet can slide up under the seat. Now, another one of the 2020 changes is that this rear door actually opens up to be almost 90 degrees. This was not the case in the 2019 model, so that's a nice addition. And moving to the seat itself, of course, this is a truck, so you can fold the seat up, and it does reveal a lot of storage space as well as a flat loading floor. Now here at the passenger seat, we do have a 4-way power one on this loaded model. And in front of the passenger, we have a decently sized glove box. It's not dampened or illuminated though. And up top, we do have a sun visor with a light mirror, and it does also detach as well as extend. Alright, so first taking off here in this 2020 Honda Ridgeline. As you can see, getting up to speed is pretty easy. We do have plenty of power here on board with that same 3.5 liter V6 that several different Honda models have. And as far as the actual number on that, that's 280 horsepower, 262 pound-feet of torque. Now, the other important thing to talk about is going to be the transmission. Now, I already previewed that in the inside, but The 6-speed automatic transmission has been discontinued for 2020, and in its place we now have a 9-speed automatic transmission. So this gets us to the latest configuration, once again similar to what the current Pilot has.
Yes.
As far as the performance of the transmission, it is pretty good. I do notice a little bit more roughness around the edges than in the Pilot, just a little bit more roughness between shifts, but overall it seems to perform quite well.
And as far as their drivetrains, it is standard and front-wheel drive, and then you do have optional all-wheel drive, or if you go for the rtl-e trim or the black edition, that is standard.
Now, in no other place is comfort so readily apparent as when you are cruising down the highway. Having Pilot bones is an excellent thing when you're talking about comfort, and really, in my mind, no other mid-sized truck really even comes close to the comfort that this Ridgeline delivers. When you're just cruising down the road, it is very hushed. You're living in complete quietness, just the same as the Pilot. You have very little wind noise, very little road noise. It's completely insulated.
Yeah, whereas, for instance, the Tacoma does not ride like the Highlander at all. So it really just depends on what you're looking for in your mid-sized truck, whether you're going to like this or not. Now I do want to take a moment here to mention the fuel economy for this Ridgeline. So for the front-wheel drive model, that's going to come in at 19 city, 26 highway, 22 combined. And if you go for the all-wheel drive, that's going to be 18 city, 25 highway, 21 combined as far as the fuel economy is concerned, which is pretty good for the segment.
But overall, the Ridgeline continues to be a very unique truck. It is totally different really from all of its competition, and that is exactly the reason why people like this truck, is because it has a lot of things that are completely missing from the competition. So if that's you, and you want those unique features, you want that extra comfort, then you should definitely come and check out the Ridgeline.
Alrighty, and now let's go ahead and discuss the pricing for this 2020 Ridgeline. So this is for the front-wheel drive models. So for the Sport, that's going to start at $33,900. The RTL is going to be $36,670. The RTL-e, which comes standard with all-wheel drive, is $42,020. And then finally you have the top-end Black Edition, also with all-wheel drive, for $43,520, which is about a $100 price increase over last year. Now in typical Honda fashion, we don't have any options, so we just have the destination charge of $1,120 to bring this tester to $43,140, which it's a pretty good price point here, especially when you consider its competitive set like the Ford Ranger and Toyota Tacoma.
Well guys, we hope you enjoyed watching this in-depth look at the 2020 Honda Ridgeline. We really appreciate you watching, and if you've made it this far in the video, hopefully that means you enjoyed watching, so be sure to hit that subscribe button down below, and we'll catch you next time as we sample more of the latest automotive delicacies.